And we're back at it. 1 by 1 and 2 by 2.
You know what's crazy? So right before we just started, we did this beautiful intro just now that wasn't recorded. So
and apparently
they said it was garbage.
The audience wasn't.
The audience wasn't feeling it.
And by audience,
we mean two specific individuals that will remain nameless, but
because it's their choice and it's their prerogative.
Yes, they have a choice. We'll tag them in the future.
Yes.
Because I found his Instagram.
Okay. Oh, now you found it. You always trying to find stuff, bro. So you're on the prowl.
I'm Inspector Gadget.
I know.
If you didn't know.
That's a whole nother message, as Pastor would say.
Pastor.
When he be like, if I had enough time, I would tell you this, but I don't. But I'm gonna tell you anyway.
He tells us anyway.
Yeah, so exactly.
But we're here.
We are live,
and
well, not really live to y'all, but for us.
No, it's all good, and we've made it. Another week,
another day, another dollar,
another moment. Another minute, another hour. So we're really excited about what we have for you guys today.
Today. You know how people be like, on today.
Today is not Saturday. Today is actually Sunday.
Okay.
So we're really excited. We're really excited about what we have for you guys today.
Yes, bro. So even to start it off, first of all,
kick it off.
I'm gonna tell you thank you for joining me on Instagram Live the other day on Transparency Talks.
Yeah, man.
I'll talk about that a little bit because that's how we can kind of go into what we're gonna talk about today. But that's
let them know what it is.
Transparency Talks. Well, it's a little baby that I've birthed on IG in a way to use IG intentionally. You know what I mean? In an intentional way to connect with other people and to bring a safe platform for people to be open, transparent about what they're experiencing in their life, and how we can actually support each other through that.
And I'm actually really happy and proud of you for that because you really kind of slid it in there and was very sneaky with it, Transparency Talks.
Okay,
and I was excited. The last couple of times you did it, I was just unable to tune in either because I was in a meeting or I was still at work or in a class with Autumn. So it just didn't work out. But just to be a part of your most recent one was so fun and just so amazing. And even having to know how to navigate through speaking with somebody and someone being able to comment directly. Man, that's an art. I got overwhelmed.
It's overwhelming.
And you know what kicked in?
What? Anxiety. Wow. That's something.
Man, yeah, dude, it kicked in heavy. I get overwhelmed and it's just like, oh God, what? I'm talking to you and then all of a sudden Trev it's like, it's
too much.
It is. It becomes too much, but it was good. It was a nice flow, and I just was really excited about where that's going and where that's taking you.
Yeah.
So shout out to Chris.
Blessings.
Chris Will with her Transparency Talks that she does. Chris, when you drop those things? Is it every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday, Transparency Talks Tuesdays is what we do. And not to get confused with Taco Tuesdays, but it actually could work because it blends.
That could really work.
Taco
a nice
Tuesday.
Little brew.
Yeah,
we really on beers right now.
Oh, Lord.
So a nice little brew with some tacos.
Brews and talks.
We are of age.
Yes,
brews and talks.
We're well of age.
We're well of age. We're beyond age.
Beyond meat.
Beyond meat. Man, embrace our foolishness, dude.
Embrace.
Yeah, because nobody over here is.
Over here, though.
It's all good in the neighborhood. If only you could see what we see, guys. The stories that would be told right now.
I know. We should flip the camera too.
Yeah, just flip the script.
It's the real BTS. But anyways, yes.
Anyway, so back to just what happens and what can happen sometimes in our lives when we do new things and we go on new ventures in our lives is anxiety, and it really can do all type of things. And we had a great discussion about that when we went to Crab Shack. That's really our spot.
Yep.
If you guys are ever in the neighborhood of any of the Crab Shacks, we I would promote the Artesia one in Gardena, but
Artesia
great.
And Cars.
Or in Cars, Cars is a good vibe as well. And please don't mistake the Artesia one for the other Gardena one.
Gosh.
In the shopping center with Marie
Marion
Callender's.
will get you the whole spiel.
We'll talk about that. We're going to do
location.
a food one next time.
Yeah,
where
food vibes.
My cousins, they did Oh yeah, I'll put y'all on game. My cousins did like this taco situation where they literally went across LA trying some of the most famous or most popular tacos.
Gosh.
Jade and Christiana, they went to every taco spot, and I thought it was so dope and so cute. They took the bus too. They caught the bus and just rode around LA and went to every popular taco spot. They ended it off with churros. I thought that was dope.
I heard that. Yeah, we definitely.
But yeah, so we gonna have to do something like that. Food, yep, I love food. I'm a foodie. If y'all didn't know that,
partake.
Actually, we're foodies. We love a good meal.
But we're not talking about that today.
We're not talking about meals. But it kind of landed there. But anyway, we had a great conversation at Crab Shack, and it just ended up with us talking about anxiety. And for those who don't know, I suffer with anxiety, and it gets pretty bad.
Yeah. And I think where that came from was one of the points was talking about our different ventures that we're taking on right now, and just the different things and just the different aspects of our lives and how we now manage that and put it together, and how that can even just cause it can cause anxiety. And I know especially for our older crowds and our older people, this whole idea of oh, don't claim that, or oh, don't speak it. But no, it's good to be able to identify and label something. Sometimes it's oh, when people talk about depression or these mental illnesses or just things like that, it's oh, don't speak that and blah, blah, blah. No, name it. That's is what funny. It is. Acknowledge it and identify it and know how to handle it, how to maneuver it. Yeah, it's true. Anxiety, it pops up in the weirdest times for me personally. And you would think these would be times where it's there's no reason for this to pop up. But they just kind of rear its ugly little head, and I just end up completely just dog sick. I'm all over the place, throwing up. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. Oh, we got stories. And I'm thinking about them
for days. Mention one. What you thinking about?
Well, first I wanted to say that was good because the point that you brought up in regards to especially the African American culture, and how about mental health in general, and just those type of symptoms, and how they can kind of be looked at in a negative light when you talk about these diagnoses anxiety, depression, bipolar, all these different diagnoses that we really try to stay away from labeling, which I honestly I agree with, and that kind of got brought up at the event that you guys had this weekend. A lot of people just not knowing how to express what they're feeling to their parents because of their because of how they were brought up and their thoughts about these type of diagnoses. And one thing I will say is just not to claim it over yourself that I'm anxious, but just to say that I experience anxiety. That's what good, you're saying, because you don't want to put yourself as that diagnosis. But that's just a side note. In regards to the moments, bro, that brings me back to the first episode when we brought about your wedding. That was a whole situation, bro.
Man. Oh, man. That was one of the first. That was a huge moment. That was one of the moments when I realized that or I was able to identify it. And it wasn't me saying it. I think someone told me, my cousin's girlfriend, she's a doctor. And she ended up telling me that night, because I was just I'm not feeling good. I was out of commission. And basically what ended up happening is, the wedding is supposed to be one of the best days of a woman's life. And I'm not trying to label it saying oh, every woman is supposed to have this grand thing and it's supposed to be a thing. It was my thing.
I was gonna say, speak on you.
This was me. This was my, I was ready. We prepared, we spent thousands of dollars on this moment, ready to roll out. We spent, when I did the calculations, I think we spent $30,000, and that was with everything. That's including wedding dress, that's including invitation, that's including nails. It's expensive as hell. That's including the venue. The venue alone was $18,000. So that was almost, we spent a lot of money on this one day. Now, so I was expecting for it, and I wanted it to be the day that I had envisioned and imagined in my head.
You got to think about it too. Side note, like you got a whole business now where you coordinate events. So
I have
this
a whole
is like this is Mary's thing. Like
right.
This is your
there we go. This is
life.
my thing. Right. This was mine. I wanted it to be big.
Right.
And so we really, I was really excited, and we did. I had a whole plan. I booked a hotel for me and the bridesmaids. Chris was the bridesmaid in the wedding, to get ready and to prepare for the event. We had mimosas. It just was a vibe. I just really, makeup done, like the hair, just amazing. I really wanted this to be an amazing moment in my life. And so everything's happening, and we're just celebrating and just really having, it felt good, like having all those vibe. Women in the room, and from my daughter to my friends to my best friend, we've been best friends since 3, to my mom, and it just was like a generation of just like wisdom and just, oh my God, great vibes. And it went from that to just downhill. I ended up getting a phone call that I wasn't anticipating, and that phone call kind of threw me off. And I believe, honestly, I don't have no problems. We're transparent, and my hope is to be able to allow other people to be open and transparent as well. So what happened was my dad called me.
Thank you.
No problem. And my pops called, and he is a character within himself. So he's like, Mariam. And I'm like, yes, Dad. He's like, why are you and why is me and that man walking you down the aisle? And he was referring to my stepdad. And I said, first of all, in my head, I'm like, why would you wait until the day of the wedding to ask me this question? We had a whole rehearsal dinner that you could have addressed this at. You have multiple opportunities to address this with me. Like, we had the rehearsal dinner, we had the plans, like, we had multiple times to address this. And you address it now.
Literally.
The day of my wedding, while makeup is about to be done, you ask me this now. So, I'm instantly like, regardless of where you guys, how you feel about this, and the reality of the situation is, because of you two birthed me. Like, good or bad, right or wrong, because of you two and my mother came me. The me where I am right now. The me that's going to say I do came from the influences of you guys. And it wasn't always right.
Right. That's the part.
And it wasn't, and it was good. There were good components, but like, from all that, good and bad, when you take it back to the word where it's all things work together for our good, like good and bad, all of them work together. So it's like, this moment came from you guys. So yeah, y'all both gonna walk me down the aisle. And that's what it is.
Your decision.
It was my choice.
Your choice.
Considering you didn't foot the bill.
Right. Oh, that's a whole nother message. We don't even go there.
But so he goes into a tangent about that, and it honestly it ruffled my feathers. And one thing about me is I don't know how to articulate things while they're arising, because it's just kind of like, if somebody's spewing a lot of things at you, some people are like clapback queens. Shout out to all the clapback queens that can just like really come back like right at the hit. Like, somebody says something and it's an instant like boom,
they know what to say.
Right, you know exactly what to say. Shout out to you guys, because God didn't call me for that. I don't know how to do it. It take me a second to come with a good comeback. Like,
and a comeback though can look so many ways.
Some
like, clapbacks are not
right. Some clapbacks are not like completely like ignorant or bad or ghetto. Some clapbacks are just great responses to what someone says to you, and it's like a nice check. Like, I don't know how to do a nice check all the time. Like, I really need to sit with mine. I gotta fester with it. I'll be having to talk through it with you. I talk to like 5 other people before I'm like, I'm ready to come back.
Right. But that comes with practice. That comes with like going through these experiences and realizing like how much stuff is and this is a whole other message, but just like how much stuff has not been addressed in certain situations. Good. So you're not comfortable with being able to have a voice, a certain type of voice with a certain person. Yeah.
As well as being bold. Like, I'm like, I am in a season of boldness, but in that moment, I was just like, yo, this is not what we were looking for.
Like, you did not expect that call.
Not on my wedding day. Not like 2-3 hours before the wedding. So he goes off. So I get off the phone with them. And I'm hot. I'm steaming. So when I get upset and I can't do anything about it, externally, I cry. So it's because I'm so angry and I can't, like, there's nothing I can do about it right now. I end up crying.
Right.
So I'm like crying and I'm going off in there. I'm cussing. If you don't know by now, I do have a bit of a potty mouth. So charge it to my head, not my heart. Ain't nothing wrong with a cuss word unless I offend you personally with the words. Because the Bible.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. But yeah, so I go in the room. I'm hot. I'm cussing. I'm yelling. I'm upset. My mom comes out of the makeup chair like, "What's the problem?" And I'm like, "Oh, forget it." Because my thing is, you know, for me that day, it should have been an honor and be grateful to be able to walk your child down the aisle. It's so many people who didn't have that opportunity. It's people whose fathers have passed away who never got the opportunity to walk their daughters down the aisle. It is young ladies whose lives got cut short who will never get the opportunity. So, like, be grateful. This is a moment of gratitude to see your daughter and the growth that she's made. And, like, shut up. Who cares how you felt? Like, sometimes, and that's a whole nother situation, too. Sometimes people need to hold their personal feelings and opinions, especially if it's about acknowledging and honoring somebody else. Right. It don't matter how I feel if we're celebrating you today, Chris. It don't matter if I didn't care for the venue. It didn't matter if I don't care for the people who you invited. Like, we're here to celebrate you, and I'm going to celebrate you. So sometimes you need to just hold your personal feelings, put them in a nice little bottle, put a ribbon on the side of it, and put it to the side so that you can honor and celebrate this person. So I went off. And after I went off in the room and lost it.
We had to switch your makeup appointment.
We had to push out my makeup appointment. My eyes was just large and just red and swollen. So after that, it just kind of all went downhill, and I couldn't target it. Like, I couldn't shake the vibes. I couldn't shake the feeling. Like, I just instantly just had, like, anxiety. It festered. It ended up popping up. And so, like, as the wedding's happening, like, I'm walking down the aisle and arm in arm with my dad and my stepdad because everybody showed up. Right. Bet you that much. So I'm walking down and I'm there and, you know, my husband's, like, telling me how beautiful I look. And I don't even know how to talk right now because I'm physically, like, I'm here. But mentally, I'm just kind of like, I'm not here. And I'm just hoping to God that I don't throw up at the altar. So literally that whole moment, that 1 second was able to fester me up internally and cause me to have anxiety for the rest of the night. We didn't do our dance. We barely made it through the intro. Like, our vows were put into place that night because he was holding my hair as I was throwing up in the toilet while everybody else was enjoying the beautiful reception that had happened. I had wooden laser cut out names. I had chargers. I had my chairs. I had everything ready to go. And where was I? I was in the bathroom puking the day of our wedding. And there was nothing that I could do to change it. Like, there was nothing that I could do. But I say all that to say, like, after we talked about this at Crab Shack, it was like, yo, sometimes my anxiety is just based off of situations. And, like, if I get too amped up or too revved up, it will happen. When Eric proposed, I got revved up and was sick. Like, the night was shut down. I went to sleep. He went to work out in the hotel. Like, it was shut down. But it's other times where my anxiety gets revved up based off of people's energy and people's spirits. And
does it look the same every time? Like, because it sounds like you get sick a lot of times. You get nauseous.
I think mine looks the same. Yeah, mine looks the same. I end up either throwing up or I just have to, like, go to sleep. Like, my stomach is hurting. I can't. It's hard for me to walk. Like, and you would think, like, oh, anxiety isn't a big thing. But when it hits your body, and that's even what my cousin's girlfriend was saying, like, once it hits you, like,
Yeah.
It's really nothing. She was like, oh, drink some alcohol. Like, that'll, like, almost like calming your nerves. It'll hopefully balance you out. And I'm just like, no, like, I can't drink anything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even want water. I don't want anything. Like, just don't talk to me. Because in my head, I'm like, maybe if I just throw it up, like throw this all up, I'll feel better. But no, for me, it's through, like, it messes with my tummy. Yeah. I be sick.
It's a physiological, like,
yes.
impact or response, I think.
Yes.
That's the thing about it. And that's why I think it's so important to, like, first of all, be aware of what it looks like, because it looks so different in everybody. Like, some people hold it in and, like, literally can just go inward and, like, literally could be freaking out and you don't even know it. And, like, some people can, like, be sweating bullets, like, you know, and just literally not knowing. Not knowing, like, you know, that just, like, nobody really knows, like, what to do, like, in regards to addressing that. And then, like, you, like, I was like, dang it, bro, like, 'cause I knew how much energy you put into the wedding. And so it was like, there was no, like, bringing you out of it. And so that's why it's such an important thing to mention, is because we got to figure out how to not get ourselves to that, like, full state of anxiety. Like, what are some like, coping mechanisms that we can do to, like, instill in our lives, whether it's even, like, making sure that you guard your space, keep your peace. Good. Because even in that situation, we was like, okay, next time we for sure somebody needs to man your phone. Like, no phone calls need to be coming in. Like, you know, volunteers, we got volunteers. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need to just be able to put certain things in place to be able to protect the peace when you know that there's a potential for something or someone to come and interrupt that in an important space, you know? So that, and then, like, for me, I think my anxiety, I be just like, if I'm overwhelmed, I'll be trying to do a lot, and, like, somebody just needs to tell me just stop, because I'll start messing stuff up. I'll, like, start leaving stuff where it's not supposed to go. I'll leave doors unlocked. Like, I'll just, you know, and, like, because I want to take on everything and try to get everything done. And then I can only imagine that type of anxiety, because it's emotional. It's not just like I have so much to do, but it's like you're emotionally thinking about everybody's thoughts and feelings now, because you're like, now, like, my dad feels uncomfortable, and then he doesn't want this to look like this. It's like you're thinking about all these different things, and, like, why can't everybody just be good with how we're going? And so that is a whole nother, like, level of anxiety. But I think that on a daily, if we're practicing, like, if we're putting like, preventative measures in place, like, whether it's, like, having that space for us on a daily basis, like, we pray, we meditate, and kind of, like, bring ourselves to a space where we kind of clear our, pretty much have some me time. Whatever that looks like. But I think that, what do you feel like you do right now? Like, do you do anything that, like, helps?
Honestly, I don't. I haven't really figured out my niche yet. One thing that I do think has ended up working out is, one, surrounding myself with people who kind of know me well enough to know when I start to get a little worked up. So it's, like, super easy. Like, because once the ball starts rolling, it's almost like it just doesn't stop. So even the last event, we did an event, and it was so hot outside that the words wouldn't stick to the wall. And I started to get worked up, because I was just like, oh shoot, like, they paid for this, like, it's not working out, like, oh dear God, what's gonna happen? And then, like, you know, my husband and my brother-in-law, like, ran to a store to get, like, a stickier adhesive, and it was like waiting for them. It was just kind of was like, oh dear God, you know, and just kind of like, I started to really get worked up, and then you was like, oh, it's cool. And then, like, when they got back, it was like, okay, it's fine, but, like, we need to hurry up and do this. Like, they're opening up the doors, and then I'm, like, trying to peel that adhesive off, and then my brother-in-law is like, relax, chill out. And I'm like, you're right. Like, just really having those moments where it's like, people can, right now, I think and I guess I've found kind of what works for me right now is not isolating myself and kind of, like, allowing this to happen, but to be around people where it's like, it's good, chill, like, we're gonna take a breather, like, it's gonna all work out, right? So, like, that's actually helped a lot, because now it's just preventing kind of moments from happening in general. And I think that's been necessary and helpful. But then the other thing is too, though, sometimes my anxiety, or what I think is anxiety, is actually just discernment and like knowing when and knowing what is what and identifying with what is what. You know, like for me, it's like, I think the anxiety is kind of like this outer response to like inner discernment and just being able to identify the two, because I had my daughter Autumn just started first grade and she's at a new school, and the new school isn't necessarily close. And we had the option for her taking a bus. And I'm like, damn, taking a bus, first grade, this really doesn't, for me, it just didn't feel good and it didn't sit well. And my anxiety started to rear its head. Yeah, this was the crab shack conversation where anxiety just kind of started to rear its head. And I was like, yo, you know, but then I had like my mother and my mother-in-law. They're like, oh, yeah, you know, it's good. It's hopeful. Like, it'll be easy if we could just have her bused. Somebody can pick her up from the bus, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And even like my husband was like, yeah, like that just is, it might be an easier situation. Yeah, than somebody trying to pick her up, because we all work, except for my amazing mother who has decided to retire from teaching.
Oh, God.
But we all work. And so it's like, that might be an easier situation. So it just still didn't sit right. And my anxiety started just like really just like hammering me. And I was just like, I really don't feel comfortable about it. Even though everybody else is saying like, it's going to be easier. This is a better move for us. Like, let's just do the bus situation. It just really wasn't sitting well. So we ended up not going that direction just due to where the bus was doing the drop off and just how schedules permitted. We were just like, I'll drop her off in the morning. She has a nanny now that comes and picks her up. And then on the other days, my mother picks her up. But I said that to say, I don't think that was regular anxiety. I think that was truly discernment, because the first week of school, one kid got left on the bus and they literally had to bring the kid back up to the school. And she couldn't have been no older than like 7 years old. And he was like, oh, she didn't get off the bus with her partner. And it's like, well, she's 7. I'm sure at a new school, what adult would think that a 7-year-old can be that responsible and have that much responsibility to know when to get off the bus?
Yeah.
And then something else happened to where two girls got off the bus on different days and were lost. They didn't know where to go. And it was just kind of like, see, this is why this couldn't be my kid. You know, I'm not even sure if those parents were notified that their child either A, didn't get off on a bus the first time, because that bus went to a whole nother school and dropped off other kids, and then realized that one girl was still on the bus. Like, no, ma'am, not mine. And I think a part of me thinks that was like discernment and being able to identify and know what intuition is, because it can make you uncomfortable. It'll fester. And I think for me, like when I don't listen to my intuition or I don't listen to my discernment, it turns into anxiety, because I just end up just constantly thinking about it. Like, oh, dang, like, oh, shoot, I should. And it's just really being able to stick to my mind and know that everybody's going to trust and rock with me with the decision I make, instead of asking or checking in for validation, or confirmation, like, oh, what you think? Oh, do you think this? They're just gonna look logically, but sometimes logic isn't what's a factor in the situation. So I think too, sometimes with some people, or specifically just for me, like my anxiety kind of like festers when I'm not listening to my discernment, when I'm not listening to my intuition, when I'm not going with my mind. And it's like, no, I knew that I shouldn't have done this because of this result. And just being able to see and know the two and know the difference, where it's my personal fears and what's like what I'm being told.
Yeah. So no, that's good. I think that even the important part that we said about that was that being able to make that distinction is important, but then also like being grounded in in your intuition, in your discernment. And that also comes from, and that's what I was speaking on before, where it comes from like it being daily like in some type of coping or spiritual moment where you can continue to like grow that side of you. Like if you are spiritual, if you do have certain values and beliefs in that area, whatever that looks like for you, it needs to be done on a daily basis, because it just kind of, you continue to get that insight on like how to maneuver through those type of situations and how to be grounded in that when you are faced with like that conflict. So like instead of having to take yourself through that whole like how process, we talked about, like, oh, like we start going out and talking and seeking like advice from other people, but then sometimes it's like God's like, okay, be still, listen to what I'm telling you, and what before your body starts like getting to that space, like listen to what. And even having those daily reminders, like thought stopping is like even a simple like technique of just learning how to stop those thoughts, those negative thoughts. Literally just telling yourself, wait, like this, like thinking about whatever wherever your mind goes, it's like you think that a certain negative thought and it's like, wait, that's not my truth. That's not what I believe. So you flip it and you like, and then it's like you have that positive self-talk is what you want to implement, and you replace those thoughts with is positive self-talk. Like, I've done this before. I've gotten through a situation like that before. If my dad is not satisfied, who cares? I'm still getting married. I found the man of my dreams. I love him. I know this is just a situation. So it's like being able to like replace that with the positive self-talk, so you can really be like fulfilled with that, as opposed to just all those thoughts of like, what if this is a disaster? Like, what if this just blows up now because he's feeling this way? Or what if this, what if my kid, just being able to weigh those pros and cons. And then that's how you are able to make a decision, a sound decision, regardless of what people are saying, and then not get in that fully, anxious mode. But it's hard. It's definitely hard. Like, I know that for me, I've practiced that at times, and I still go back. I'll notice my mind, like, I'll be like, okay, it's cool, Kristen. Like, my anxiety can come out. Like, I can just think of like simple moments. Like, if I'm gonna be late to like a meeting, like that one time we was driving to the other podcast thing, and I was just like, oh shit, you late, like, you was spazzing, bro. And like, but sometimes I just be like, I'll freeze, or I'll just be like in my head, and you can just tell like, oh, your mood just shifted. Like, you're like focused, you're serious, like, because, and then sometimes
no laughing in that car.
Right. I was like, I gotta figure this out. Like, I was just like,
you was like, after we got there, you was like, oh, you can get out. I said, no, we gonna sit in the car. I just was like, nah, she in a whole nother world.
But that's why I said it looks completely different with different people. And then another point I was gonna say to that, it was just like, just us being able to, it's just important to be able to think, like, because I'm like, my thoughts kept going like, what if they are upset, or what if they gotta pay for this time that I like, because I made them be late, like all these different things. But also knowing that like situations don't end up turning out as bad as we think them. We make them in our heads. And so that's just the reality. And so that's what that whole fear component is. And I think that's a whole nother message too, talking about fear and how that keeps us from, we go into that self-sabotaging what Pastor was talking about today. So like, I mean, there's a whole lot of things that come into, experiencing anxiety, and like, being able to just kind of, I'm
sorry guys if y'all heard anybody yelling in the background. That's my child, because her uncle decided to try and take the phone from her. Call it like it is.
That's like it is, folks. Y'all know what it is here.
Yeah, like real, ain't nobody, I mean, we not real raw and relevant. Ain't nobody trying to fake the funk.
This is mommyhood.
Yeah, this is motherhood. This is what it looks like when the kid is here and the husband is working on it.
That's anxiety provoking as well.
Yeah, low key. But you brought up a good point though, and like really being able to just be able to like hush your mind and say like, it is what it is, and like it's fine. Literally, I think is like mad important, and that's a really good point of just being able to navigate through it, and then being able to just be like, nah, it's good. Like, it's not that bad. It's not going to be that detrimental, or, and I think another part, just like a lighter note of anxiety, is when I'm just like, when personal stuff is going on in my life, and I'm like always trying to explain myself to people, and just even like getting that from you of like, no, bro, like you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to. And I think that was like another lighter part of mine of just like, I don't want them to think anything, X, Y, and Z. But the reality of the situation is like, we don't have to explain anything. Yeah. We say what it is, and it is what it is. Right. Like, I'm going to be late.
Right.
I'm going to be late.
Right.
And not to allow ourselves or like beat ourselves over the head like, oh, damn, now you're going to be late. And now you're trying to, and it's like, that's when anxiety, it is true. That's when it starts to build up, because it's like, now you're worried about it.
Right.
Now you're thinking about it. You're worried about what that looks like on you. Yes, granted, if you do have a problem with tardiness, do better.
Right.
But in the situations or cases of like having a moment and running late, explain that. State it, and it is what it is. Like us learning how to just like let it go. Autumn has a thing where she's just kind of like, and Autumn's my daughter, I just want to reiterate, but she's like, she's been doing meditation at school and she really loves it, and she's like, mommy, you just take 5 deep breaths. And I'm like, okay, babe. And she's like, after you take your 5 deep breaths, then you tell the person how you feel. And I'm like, that's so important to be able to implement even as adults. Like, take 5 breaths and then reassess. Like, reassess the situation. Is it as deep as we think it is? Like, you're right.
Yeah.
That wedding moment, like, I should have easily just been able to shut it down, but not having tools or not being able to know or not being able to identify things makes it a bit challenging and hard. So...
the way she's looking at the peeps. No, but for real, that's real. And I know we are like probably way over time, but these are good nuggets. But I know we got more to come. And I was just gonna say a last point to what you said.
Bro, say your points. Don't worry.
I know, I'm not worried. I just thought I forgot it.
See, that's anxiety.
Exactly.
Screw them.
No, I was gonna say it reminded me of like, I feel like it's the same thing as like how Pastor explains fear. I think his fear was like it's what is it? Thoughts placed on outcomes that may never come, or
that's good.
Energy or whatever.
No, I think that was it.
Exactly. Like we constantly are thinking about what can happen. That's really what anxiety is. Anxiety is literally, it's kind of nothing. It's like literally something that we place on ourselves every time. It's not something that's actually happening.
Right.
It's an idea of something
that
that's
our
happening.
Mind is already
literally like it's literally our thoughts. So when we understand that, that simplicity of it, I know there's more complexity to it, but we really create that complexity. And so I think we need to just figure out how to break that down. And it's a work in progress. It's like understanding that we are humans, that we're going to make mistakes, and like how will this mistake lead me to more successes in the future? And so understanding that we accept it all and that it does all work together for good.
Yeah.
So when we can do that, when we're going through a challenging situation or we don't know the outcome of something, just being okay with being like, hey, whatever the outcome is, I'll deal with it when it comes. But I'm not about to experience the feelings of an outcome that might never come right now.
Yeah. That's good. And for me, my closing nuggets would be like to be able to acknowledge what it is and to be okay with acknowledging, things that you experience, feelings that you experience, especially in the Black community. Yeah. Just not putting names to things. It just doesn't leave a space for resolution or a space for just solving, or being able to take steps to improve your life. So to be able to acknowledge and identify what it is a really important component, because the only problems come into place when you allow it to consume you completely. I wouldn't say like, oh, I have really bad anxiety and it's caused me to lose out or miss out on, X, Y, and Z. Yeah, I've had really bad experiences with it and it has ruined some days of mine, but this isn't something that is overtaking me. This isn't something that I'm going to allow to consume my life and consume my lifestyle. So I would just say acknowledge and identify if these are things or nuggets that you go through and have. And even in some moments, it truly is... I feel like everybody has moments of anxiety.
Oh, for sure.
And being able to say, like, it is what it is, and like you said, just like not allowing it to move any further within your being, within yourself, and within your life. So acknowledge it, identify it, and know your tools to be better and make it better. And I'm still learning, because you catch me on the wrong day and
yeah, right. You might.
And your girl, like, if they like, oh, she not feeling well, you might know what it is.
Hey, you had a good moment in the car though. We was on the phone and you was like, you was about to somebody cut you off or something. You was like, oh wait, okay, you know what?
Oh yeah, because I for sure.
And then she caught the look from the guy and she had to go back and be like, oh god,
like they be trying
it's a constant thing.
Yep, it is a constant thing. I be getting worked up in the car. I got real bad road rage. Is what I learned.
Yep. Road rage.
And my daughter be like, Mom, you don't have to yell at them that bad. And I'm like, my bad, Autumn. But truly it is. It's learning and identifying and trying to make better choices. Making the conscious decision to say like, oh, I'm not going to allow this to do that to me. Not today. And truly, like, in 4 years, we'll have this conversation again because we're doing a do-over for our wedding. And for sure, like, no one is going to even be entered into the space or realm to allow. Girl, please.
We don't have a little.
Girl, please. Yep. Ain't nobody ruining no more special moments. Like, we going to do a proposal redo. We going to do a wedding redo. We going to do all the redos that we can do. Yep.
You going to play some good anxiety on E.
Yeah. My husband already, he got anxiety right now. He's like, hell no, that's way too much money.
Right,
it's all good though, man. We're gonna do it.
Well, there it is. It's said.
It's
in closing, if you want to hear more about anxiety, call us. I'm just kidding.
Hey, no, but seriously, Chris, literally you are, and Chris has gave me a lot of good tools and nuggets on how to kind of navigate through anxiety. So one, thank you for that.
Blessings.
And two, she's about to start kind of launching these more intimate, private kind of lessons and lifestyles with people individually to be able to go through and kind of walk through those processes with some people to be able to make it happen, Chris. And if she ain't got it, she's great at referrals.
There you go. For now, just tune in to @Kristen Will on Instagram and on Tuesdays for Transparency Talk, so we can talk about it. You can find at Designs, what is it?
Oh, Designs by Dorsey, but we don't have no reasons for Designs by Dorsey right now.
No, I know, but
I guess after your anxiety.
It's not about after your anxiety.
After your anxiety hit, or to relieve some of that anxiety. Exactly. If you got an event or something like
people
that.
I'm telling you, they all work in tandem. People got things together to work out and coordinate. If you want to start something, Designs by Dorsey can help you out.
I can help you out on that end if you got anxiety on that. And if you got like real life anxiety, Chris is really there. She's a great
you can find it. I can tell you about his therapist and stuff like that to find. That's a whole other thing. So we definitely want to do a list of things that you guys can do. Download some meditation apps. Download our podcast. If you're not following @Chris and Meems on Instagram, I don't know what you're doing, but you should. And on SoundCloud, it's available. And like I said,
and it's streaming also on iTunes as well as Spotify and. And we're laughing because we're laughing because we're still launching those things, but by the time this episode drops, it'll all be there.
It's all gonna come. We gotta speak it into existence.
iTunes, the little podcast app.
Yes.
And
here she goes. Obviously, we're mentioning the wrong things because the people that are going to help us with this stuff,
we giving them anxiety already. But all right, you guys, it's been live. Thank you so much.
Great,
Chris. You're always amazing. Just a wonderful fresh of air.
Exactly. I'll take it.
Thank you for lending me your sweats for today.
Oh Lordy.
I was uncomfy and now I'm comfy. But she also didn't want to give me her sandals, so I got heels on with sweats and a t-shirt.
Let's just say I have a whole wardrobe of mine. Okay. Anyways, all right, we won't go into that, Miriam. It's been great. What's our closing thing again?
All right, so you guys, this is good. This is good, Chris.
Easy, bro.
So be blessed.
Don't be stressed.
And Chris and Meems will handle the rest.
Hey, we're going to figure it out. It's going to be good soon. That's all right.
I thought that was good.
Chris and Meems will we really
and
handle
Chris
the rest?
And Meems will handle the rest.
That's anxiety provoking already, bro. What are we going to handle their lives? I don't understand. We won't handle the rest.
Okay, it's not that deep. Chris and Meems are the best.